You there, Malcolm? Can't see or hear you. There he is. Can't hear you. Ah. Can you hear me, John?
Hi, Terry. Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Terrific. How are you?
Right, thanks. Not bad. Not bad.
It's good. I'm just trying to get Malcolm in.
Can you hear me now?
Can now.
Yeah. I'd went through the browser and
I've got two names up here of you, Malcolm, so that you must have I'll just remove it.
okay.
Do you want to remove? Yeah. Okay.
Have you managed it, Terry?
It doesn't matter. It won't go. It's just a box there. It's no drama.
Okay.
Now, there we go. Gallery. Did you? Yeah, okay. Okay. Good morning.
Good evening.
Yeah. What time is it there, Malcolm?
9:30.
Okay.
9:30.
1, 2, yeah, 3 hours. Yeah. What about you, John?
Same, 9:30 here as well.
9:30. Yeah.
Where are you, John?
Dublin.
Okay. Yeah.
And whereabouts are you?
Leicestershire.
Oh, okay.
Right in the middle.
Right. Okay.
Malcolm, I'm not sure I want to bring it up. How's your pet? How are your pets?
No, things look like they're improving.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. What happened?
Well, we've got two border collies, John, and one of them has bright blue, beautiful eyes,
Oh,
but they're not very good.
right.
Oh,
And
okay.
we thought he was bumping into things and couldn't see, and I thought, this is it.
Yeah.
No, we took him to the vet, couldn't find anything wrong, but somehow, whether it was just dehydration or he'd eaten something,
You just came good.
yeah.
Yay.
You really get attached to animals, to dogs and cats, don't you?
Well, look, sorry, John, go for it.
No, yeah, sorry. No, I haven't had a pet now for 30 years, but I certainly remember when I was growing up, we had them, and I was pretty attached to them. Yeah.
I'm a sucker for dogs, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Especially border. Hey?
You're getting one.
Well, I can't while the lockdown's on. Like, I wanted to get myself a car as well. You can't.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to go and buy a car. You
Are
can.
you,
You can if you
are you-
buy one online and they use a tow truck to deliver it to you.
Wow.
are you in Victoria?
Yeah, in Melbourne.
In Melbourne. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hot spot in Australia at the moment
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
COVID. Although, because we've been on lockdown for 2 or 3 weeks, the numbers are declining again. So,
Oh, it is working.
yeah, it was working before too. And then it just, boom, took off again. Like over a period of about 2 weeks, it just spiked again. So, I don't know. Even New Zealand had it under control for a moment, weren't reporting any cases, and now they're starting to report cases again. So it's a bugger of a thing to try and stop.
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going in England?
Well, we're still in partial lockdown, or local lockdowns, they're calling it. But we're trying to open up everything again. And people are reluctant to go back to work.
Yeah.
Well, some are reluctant.
Yeah. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Totally don't blame them.
Yeah. But we can't stay locked down forever, can we?
No. And that's the problem. Like, will we ever actually get rid of this thing? Will anyone actually get rid of this thing? You know, or is it, are we all just dependent on a vaccine?
Yeah. Don't know, do we?
And I'm not too keen on having it, to be honest. The vaccine.
Yeah.
You know, let other people have it for 12 months first and see how it goes. And if it goes,
They're the guinea pigs, are they?
Yeah, if people don't start growing 2 heads, I might think about it. You know, I don't know.
Have you got snow there at the moment, Terry?
I mean, we never get snow in Melbourne.
Okay.
Not in Melbourne itself, but certainly on the ski fields, yeah. Certainly. I mean,
I heard
not
icy gas come up.
yeah, it's not never get snow in Melbourne, but this will give you an indication. The last time I can recall snow in Melbourne, I would have been 8 years old. And it was like, wow. And it's never happened since, to my knowledge. But it gets cold. It gets cold. They're kind of, I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything. It's probably better here than it is where you guys are. But our winters seem to be quite long. Like it's cold for a good 6 months here. And then it slowly starts to warm up as we get into spring. And then we get about, I don't know, 4 months of really, really, really good weather. And then the temperature starts to drop again. So, but it's all right.
What do you define as cold? Like, what, like say, daytime temperature? What would be cold for daytime?
Daytime, 12.
Okay. Yeah.
12 Celsius. Sometimes, you know, on the odd occasion, it can get a bit colder than that, but usually about that. 11 maybe during that, but usually 12, something like that. And then summer, like we can hit 43, 44. That's hot.
Yeah.
That's hot, you know. Rohan, hang on, just let Rohan in. But it's a really, really dry heat here, even in summer. Hey, Rohan.
Hey Terry, how you doing?
Morning.
Morning.
Hey, that's not light coming in your window.
That is, yeah.
Sunlight.
That's sunlight. It's reflected off the house across the street. It's not direct sunlight, but yeah,
It's pitch black outside here. What's going
yeah,
on? Good.
That's Victoria for you.
Yeah, I know, but you're still just north of me. You'd think it would be Anyway, I don't know. Welcome, mate.
Cheers.
We're just talking about the weather here and the coronavirus. What's happening here? What's happening in England? What's a cold day here? What's a cold day in England? Or where you guys are?
We can go below freezing, Terry.
During the day?
Oh, yeah. Not for long periods, but it can do. But, 5 or 6 degrees regularly.
Oh.
With a bloody cold, wet north wind off the Atlantic. Oh. John gets it from the Atlantic.
True. We get it first.
Well, that's speaking of wind. That's what gives us our 4 seasons in one day, because it could be like 42, 43 degrees Celsius in the middle of summer. Usually, when it's that hot, the wind is blowing down to us from the north, and then all of a sudden the wind can just turn around and start blowing up from the South Pole, and within a couple of hours the temperature can plummet. And I like that. you kind of get a bit of relief in summer when it's stinking hot, that you don't get that in Queensland north, but down here in Melbourne the weather can change. You literally can get 4 seasons in one day. It feels like just jumps around. But I love the cool change that we can get off the South Pole. I remember when I was living in Cairns, or just north of Cairns in Port Douglas in North Queensland. And of course, it's my first time up there. And I moved there. And I forgot, it didn't dawn on me that we were so far away from the South Pole. And in the middle of summer up there, when it gets hot, it just stays hot. Doesn't matter what direction the wind's blowing, it just stays hot and extremely humid. And I don't like humidity when it's hot. It's wet all the time. Some people love it. I don't like it. I prefer the dry heat myself.
So Melbourne is dry heat, is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The further, you need to go north for it to get tropical. So it's quite dry. Yeah. Anyway, you've had a haircut, Rohan? Hang on. I might have to unmute you.
No, I'm muted. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. You've had a haircut?
No, I haven't had a haircut.
I'd kill for one. We can't get a haircut.
Well, I don't know. Things are picking up in Queensland again. They're saying that maybe, they've started locking down some parts of Brisbane because there's
really
started spreading. They say they don't want it to end up like Melbourne, but I don't know. I don't know if you can stop this thing.
Well, that's what we were just saying.
Yeah.
We were just saying exactly that. You get the numbers down, it gets low, and then it just takes off again. I don't know. Anyway, enough of that. We're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss nothing. So how are you going, John?
Well, not bad, thanks, Terry. So, we were discussing a particular pointer last time we were talking, sorry, I'm a bit distracted here because it got very dark, and I think that's because I've changed. Let me see if I can get a bit brighter. That might be a bit brighter. Yeah. It's the brightness of my screen because the light is coming from the screen. So the pointer that you suggested that I investigate was, can a thought experience anything?
Beautiful. Yeah. How'd you go?
Yeah. I was working with that, and I did find it very interesting, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's purely logical. A thought can't experience anything, and I would never have suggested that it could. But it's the logical consequence of that thought can't experience anything. So what am I? Am I a thought? Am I not a thought? And if I'm not a thought, if I am a thought, then
Nothing happened.
I can't experience anything.
Well,
So
yeah,
yeah, so it's definitely interesting and definitely something that I'm going to continue to explore.
yeah. It's a really, really good one to look at. A really, really good one to look at.
Yeah.
Eventually, you discover this so-called personal me that I take myself to be, that I believe is here and real, and I once would have said speaking to you now, and or is seeing and hearing and tasting and touching. This so-called personal me that I take myself to be is nothing but thoughts. There is actually no entity. There's no me entity here. That will eventually be seen. It can't not be. You'll eventually see that, especially if you're playing around with that particular pointer. Now, that being the case, if me is nothing but a construct of thoughts or content of mind, if you want to call it that, if it's nothing but that, that means me has never experienced anything. And you take it one step further, that means nothing ever happened. Who would it happen to?
So me.
Who would it happen to? Thoughts that can't experience anything?
Well, awareness. It would happen in the field of awareness, but wouldn't have an owner.
What you need to see is it's not happening to you. Like I know you know that intellectually. I get it. You do. If you actually experienced that statement that you just made, we probably wouldn't. You wouldn't be looking at, can a thought experience anything? You'd know already.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you wouldn't be looking. So, try not to paint yourself into a corner of the mind going, oh, I know it's awareness, and then drop it. Do you understand? Yeah, you've got to experience. You've got to.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. No, I fully get this. Theoretical understanding is not the same. Truly.
So it's got to be experienced as that. Yeah, but it was. I remember how profound it was for myself when it dawned. Oh my God. My whole past, my whole history, my whole story, nothing ever actually happened. It's all imagined. All of it was imagined. I can recall, don't get me wrong, I can recall things that happened, in the past. Now I can recall things that happened in the past. So there's still a memory of things that occurred in the past, but they happened to no one.
Yeah.
And all there is a memory, just a memory of stuff,
A functional memory.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
But there's no sense of ownership. No sense as an I who they happen to.
It's everything that seems to happen to me is all contained in the mind. Everything that seems to happen to me is all contained in the mind.
So when you say that, then okay, do you mean So mind can be thought of as something localized, or it can be thought of something universal. So, like, which of those two are you kind of thinking of?
It's the same. There's only one mind.
Right.
It's the same. But for the sake of this exercise, or for the sake of the exercise, when we're actually trying to see and come to see what is actually really happening, when I say it all happens in mind, take it as a localized personal mind that you're experiencing, your own personal thoughts and what goes on in there. Until you get past that, when you get past that, you realize that there is no localized personal me, or mind rather.
Yeah, because it's all been pulled together with the central sort of I type thought, and once you don't have that, and it's not. Yeah.
Then you realize that yes, there is only one mind, and that one, if you want to call it universal mind, manifests through 8 billion other minds, is responsible for every single solitary thought that seems to appear in the seeming individual. Like, if me is not responsible for the mind, and if the mind is not an isolated, independent thing that's thinking all by itself and for itself and so on and so forth, if it's not that, then where are the thoughts coming from? What's responsible for the thoughts? Once you start to see you're not responsible for the thoughts. Thoughts are just happening all day long, every day. Yeah. Once you see that, it begs the question: where are they coming from? What's responsible for them? What's producing them? What's creating them?
It's a mystery.
Until it's not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
So, would you say for you then, is it not a mystery where they're coming from?
Totally not a mystery.
Okay.
Totally not a mystery.
Where are they coming from then? That begs the question: where are they coming from?
I just told you.
Well, universal mind.
But that's just a label. Yeah, but it's coming from one. There is only one. So one is responsible for all.
But okay, but do you, okay, so when they're coming from one, right, that's fine, but I suppose that my question was more, I don't know what quite was my question. I suppose the question could be something like this, like if it's universal, one, then what's the point of seemingly individualized thoughts in the first place?
Okay. If that wasn't if there was not duality and there was just an absolute pure singularity, you have to imagine this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's
fair.
no such thing as duality. There's just absolute singularity. Would it need to know itself? Could it know itself? What could it experience? If it's all, if it's completely complete, what could it experience? What could it know if it knows all? So it's tricky. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
and I don't know if you'll get this, but you can't have non-duality without duality, and you can't have duality without non-duality?
Well,
See-
I mean,
Okay.
okay, I mean, you can't have non-duality. Okay, so there are two separate statements there. One is you can't have duality without non-duality.
And you can't have non-duality
Which,
without duality.
so the first one of those is, yeah, the first one of those, is okay with me.
Yeah.
The second one is you can't have, what the second one is you can't have non-duality. Okay, so you can't have non-duality without duality. So that one is more problematic.
Tell me why. Yeah. Tell me why.
Well, partly theoretically, I suppose, because theory suggests that, well, no, okay, let's say non-dual theory suggests that universes just spontaneously appear
Mm-hmm.
and then spontaneously disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So the logic for that is that, and multiple universes spontaneously appear and disappear. That's the theory anyway. So if that's the theoretical starting point, the universes that are spontaneously appearing and disappearing are dependent on what they're spontaneously appearing and disappearing in. So in that case, then there's something which the universe doesn't need to spontaneously appear in which case you could have the non-duality without the duality, i.e. the universe. So that will be my position on that one.
How would it know itself?
Well, it wouldn't. Okay, so I mean, again, this is very theoretical. So it's for me, but okay. So a universe is where you are seeing something reflected sensorially. So you look out, something gets reflected. There's a subject-object relationship. So I see that basically, either mentally or physically. I see that. So a universe is where there's a reflection.
Yeah, but what is needed to create the I see that?
A division. So you need a division because you need a division between the subject, which is the I, which is seeing, and the object, which is what's being seen. So, okay, so obviously you can't have I see that without a that and an I, which means that in order to know objects, mental or physical objects, you need to have this division. But
what is the division?
Theoretically, again, because I don't know this. I'm not speaking from experience.
Yeah.
Theoretically, or in inner knowledge. Let's put it that way. So theoretically, the division is a set of concepts and notions which are space, time, materiality, form, etc., etc. So
good. And where's all that contained?
Well, that's all contained within the one, as you call it. So that's all contained within the one. So the one manages to create this division within it, and then you've got a universe.
What duality is there without a single solitary thought?
Well, you can see physical objects without thinking. So you might not put names on them. You might not put labels on. Well, this is, again, I'm talking from my experience. So you might not put, so I can, look at a wall in front of me here, right? Now, I can label that a wall. Obviously, at some point in time, I learned to label something like that a wall. So I can label that a wall, but I can see it without that labeling. So,
and the seeing of it without that labeling, do you experience being separate from it?
I don't know. I'd have to explore that.
Look, outside of mind, let's just say outside of your own personal mind, okay? For the sake of, outside of your own personal mind, there is no duality. That creates the seeming duality is the personal mind.
So again, just in terms of defining terms here, when you say the seeming duality, are we including things like space?
Everything.
Everything. Yeah. Okay.
Everything.
So
In the complete absence, of personal mind, when there's just seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, let's say, yeah. But just if you focus on seeing, yeah, in the complete absence of all thought, whilst looking around, is there any division?
well, okay. So I guess there's a distinction between thought and knowledge.
Same thing.
So,
No, don't do that. It's the same thing. Knowledge is thought. In the complete absence, zero thoughts. Nothing. Bam. Where is the division in the world then?
yeah, hard to see if
Good.
there is one. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So play with that. Look around with that. Like, there's actually no such thing as duality. Like there's no such thing as time. No such thing. Duality and time exist in the mind. And that is responsible for the content of mind is non-duality. Because with that, it can then experience seeming division, seeming self, seeming other, stuff, the world. It creates a world. Whereas without it, without that duality, without a single solitary thought, everything is just one. No division, no here, no there, no past, no future. One. It's only mind. Duality only arises in the mind as an idea. Separation only arises in the mind as an idea. That we seem to experience separation with, yeah. If you look at that, usually it's the body, yeah, and the boundary is the skin. And anything outside of the skin is separate from me. True?
Well, yes-ish, I suppose. I don't consider everything outside the skin being completely separate from me, but yeah, more or less, yeah.
That's generally how we're walking around.
Yeah.
I am the body, and everything outside of the body is not me. Yeah. Examine that. Really examine.
You know, I did initially, you know, when I was younger, I did feel that. I don't really feel that now, actually, to be honest.
You don't feel.
Well, I don't feel that there's a complete physical boundary. That meanness doesn't end my skin. I don't feel that. So
where does the meanness start and finish?
The
me.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily, for me, it doesn't have a kind of fixed boundary. It's more kind of a graduated scale. So there's more me and less me the further away from some kind of central core is the way that's the way I experience it.
So the further away you get from an object, for argument's sake,
yeah,
the less me you feel, or the more me you feel?
Well, less.
Less, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I consider the central core, which is more me-ish, for want of a better way of putting it, and then that kind of just in space as I go further out, it's less so.
Okay. So if you come back to the core, where is it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I have to say that most of the time I experience that as being like, in my head, I suppose, roughly speaking. I mean, that's very rough, but sort of roughly around that kind of area.
Okay. Where's the center? Where does it start?
So you see, I don't quite see it like that as having a kind of a center. I
Yeah,
more see it.
that's because it doesn't have a center. But when we say,
Yeah.
when we say, it kind of starts here, and then you said, oh, it's kind of somewhere, yeah, where?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like a cloud for me. That's just the way I experience it.
Does it have a boundary? If it has a center, does it have a boundary? A seeming center, does it have a boundary?
Yeah. Not really, no.
So if it doesn't have a center and it doesn't have a boundary, how can it be localized? And what is it that's telling you it's localized?
So, okay, so the localization comes into play with sensory stuff. So then it feels like it's localized when I look at something. I'm not just saying what it feels like. I'm not saying that's right.
Totally understand. I totally understand. The only thing that creates the seeming localization or the seeming boundary is thought. Again, that's the storyteller. It's mind, it's thought that's saying, there's this kind of a seeming, it's kind of cloud-like. Yeah, it's kind of, it makes up this big story about nothing. When you really analyze it, John, when you really, really, really go there.
But do you mean analyze or do you mean look?
Look.
Because they're not quite the same thing.
Look.
Right.
Look. Yeah. Or ask the question, what's actually really happening here? What's actually happening? Not what am I thinking about what seems to be actually happening? What is actually happening?
Well, I mean, I was answering from what I perceive to be happening with the way I'm looking at it at the moment.
So, sure. But there's an I there that believes it's perceiving.
Well, certainly in this conversational perspective, yes.
Yeah. See, let's jump back to what we were talking about a moment ago. Why does, let's call it universal mind, manifest as 8 billion other minds? Why does it do that? Because there's only one source. Ultimately, there's one source, which means that source is responsible for everything. Yeah. Otherwise, the whole topic, non-duality, is rubbish. So
Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
So until it's known or experienced, let's go. Okay. So there's just one source, and all thought. And we're just looking at thoughts at this stage. Yeah.
Okay,
All thoughts manifest from that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in the process of that occurring, the one then gets to experience itself 8 billion times
Mhm.
at once, at the same time.
Yep.
Yep. And
That's perfectly logical. Yep.
yeah. And to do that, it creates dualistic thought.
Yep.
Because without thought, everything would just remain singular. So duality arises in the mind. Seeming duality, rather, arises in the mind. That's why it's referred to as a dream, the waking dream. Yeah. So why does singularity do that? To experience something. Without it, there'd be no experience. Because it's completely whole. It is everything. What could it experience if it's everything? What? It's everything. What could it experience? Like nothing.
Well, itself, basically.
Yeah, but how would it do that? How would it experience itself if it's everything? What part of itself is it going to experience if it's everything? What would it lack? What would it need? What would it want? It's everything. Bar none. There'd be no need for duality. It's whole. But would there be an experience then?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that presupposes it wants to have an experience.
Yeah. Totally. When you look at it, yeah. That thing that we're calling singularity, yeah, its primary nature, and until you experience it, this can kind of sound a little bit, yeah, you know, up in the clouds sort of shit, yeah. But its primary nature is to love. And the first thing it loves is the love to be. Now, that can really, really, really easily be tested with human beings that are being. Really easily tested. I usually, you know, like, I don't know if you're married, John, or you've got kids or what your background is, but if I asked you, you know, what's your primary love? Your primary love. What is it?
Well, yeah, I am married and I do have kids.
So what's your primary love?
Well, I suppose my children, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So keep that in mind. Let's just hold that for a sec, yeah? All right. So now let's assume I'm in the room with you. Not, but let's just assume I'm sitting next to you, yeah? And I say, okay, we're going to run a little experiment here. And I say, stand up, put your back up against that wall, your head up against the wall, and you're standing up, your whole body, your back up against that wall. And then I walk up to you and I put my hands around your throat.
Mm-hmm.
and I start squeezing, and I squeeze, and I squeeze, and I squeeze, and I squeeze until you can't breathe. Yeah. And I squeeze harder, and you still can't breathe. In that moment, what's going to be your primary love? Without which, there'd be no kids, there'd be no wife, there'd be no life, there'd be nothing. What's your primary love? Tell me, if I was literally doing that, would you just stand there with your arms
not something I really want to imagine.
It's just an exercise. Let's just assume I am doing that, and you're now being asphyxiated.
Now I'm gonna have nightmares, Terrence.
No, you won't. Let's just say
okay. So if my life is flashing before my eyes, basically,
and
I have to do something in order to survive, what would I do? So
would you just stand there with your hands, with your arms
flopped
by your side?
No. I would attempt to survive.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why would I attempt to survive? Actually, that's a very interesting question. Why would I attempt to survive? Not thinking logically, which I think you don't want me to think, like not thinking because I've got to do this or that or these family members, etc.
Okay, let's just look at that just for a sec, John. Yeah. In that moment where you're being asphyxiated, right, and then you start fighting, because your body would just start, it would react.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You couldn't just stand there with your hands flopped by your side, looking at me, whilst I just continued to choke you.
So, I mean, I'm actually sort of looking at it, and I don't think, for me, again, I'm just saying what I see from my investigation. For me, it's just automatic. So there's no logical thought, I want to survive. There's no logical thought, I don't want to die. None of that. It's just literally almost like, do you know the way you have a reaction when you hit the bottom of your knee?
Yeah.
And it just pops up?
Yep, it's like a reflex, just a reflex.
It's just a reflex, yeah. So the reflex would just automatically switch in, and, you know, the body, as you correctly say, would just attempt to survive.
Right, okay. And at that point, where are your kids?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
There's no thought of kids. It just becomes the immediacy of absolute now. Yeah. And what you're trying to do is protect the beingness. Being. Why? Because that's your primary love. It's innate. It's innate. You call it a reflex. It's innate. And then we overlook that, right? And then we spend our whole life trying to become, instead of realizing our primary love is to be, and we already are being. We don't identify with the being, we identify with the mind, which is split and dualistic and just makes up a story, and in there is contained the dream. And the dreamed John character, or Terry character, Rohan, Malcolm, that character and that dream and all those thoughts, there's nobody there to be responsible for that. Do you see that? And you may not, you know.
Well, no, I absolutely do see that. Going back to the scenario we were discussing, there wouldn't be any thoughts, I want to survive. Well, there might be, but they would be secondary to the kind of primary drive, which is automatic, would be automatic, I suppose. So
Without the seeming duality, the beingness can't be appreciated.
right.
So why does the duality come into function? So as it can experience being, the beingness, the world, the stuff, the thoughts, the people, the birds, the everything.
But on that logic, there's no point to pursuing non-duality as an exercise. So I'm not quite sure I fully agree with that, because if I did agree with that, I'd say why am I pursuing non-duality?
Because you have no choice. It's not about you. You don't awaken from the dream. You awaken to the dream. There's a huge difference. And whilst we're on this path, what me wants to do, especially when it starts to get a bit of knowledge, yeah, oh, I want to awaken from the dream. From the dream. Me is the dream. It can't awaken from the dream. It is the dream. But there's an awakening to that fact, to the dream.
I mean, do you mean like sort of lucid dreaming for actual dreams? Is that what you mean, or?
No.
I mean, you're connected to the dream, but something already knows that it's a dream, because that's gone back to the one. So something already knows it's a dream, but that something isn't right here, right now. So
where is that something then? It's not.
well, the source. Let's say the source. The source already obviously knows. Well, the source knows that this is a dream.
It doesn't know it's a dream until it awakens to the fact. It's not a me that awakens. That would be ridiculous. Because then there'd be me that's awake. To what? What else would be included? If everything's one, there's no room for you. None.
Well,
There can't be you and look, there cannot be you and one. That's the duality. That's the split right there.
well, I agree there can't be a separate you and one. But I mean, it's like if I pick up a pebble, right? Notionally, that pebble is separate, but it's actually, it's in space. It's in everything around us. So, you see what I'm trying to say?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so, all right. I think I think that you're saying that a me, right, is dependent on that me believing it's separate.
Firstly, there is no me or me's. There is not one. So all of this that's arising, the questions, the seeming me, and so on and so forth, is nothing but mind. And let's just call it your experience of mind. It's nothing but that. Your personal me arises in mind as thoughts, and mind creates a seeming entity, a seeming me, a seeming person, and then mind believes that. And then mind goes looking for source. Mind is the seeker, not you. Now, when I say not you, if there's no me, what am I referring to when I say not you?
Well, you're
Because
source.
I'm saying there's a you there.
Yeah, you're referring to source.
Yeah. So what wakes up?
Well, I mean, I think what you're getting at is that source wakes up. But that implies that source is asleep to start with.
It's like,
I mean, it's just my theoretical. Sorry, Terry. I know you're thinking you're going to express.
no.
something.
That's fine. That's fine. It's like source creates a seeming individual. Source creates a seeming individual. Yeah. It's responsible for the thoughts, responsible for everything. Yeah. But if we just look at the seeming individual, yeah, source creates that. Yeah. So as, for argument's sake, yeah, it can experience itself as this seeming individual. Okay. Now, to be able to do that, the only way it can do that and seemingly experience the individual is to forget what it is. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way. Yeah. So source creates the seeming separation and the seeming individual. Yeah. But for it to be able to do that, it must forget its source. That's built in.
Because otherwise it's not an individual.
Correct. Otherwise, it's still one. And the whole things wouldn't happen. The seeming individual wouldn't happen because there is no seeming individual. It'd just still all be one.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
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 So source is responsible for the dream, and you, John, are the dream. I'm talking about the personal John. Yep. You're the dream. And the whole time that like we're engaging or you're on this seeming path, yeah, it's source that's gradually waking up. Why? Because it can. Because it can. Full stop. It's infinite. It can do whatever, anything. That's why, you know, you have to excuse my language, okay? But people that have awoken, they all say, there's no person here. Everyone says the same thing. There is no individual here. There is no me here. Everyone says the same thing. Why? Because there's not an individual here. But there's something else that can't be denied. You can negate the seeming person, the seeming individual. And I know if you've been on this path, John, you've been doing that. Negate. I'm not this. Yeah, negate.
Oh yeah. Netty.
Yeah, right. You can negate, right? What can't you negate?
Well, I mean, I would say, in answer to that question,
Mm.
that you can't negate. Okay, so okay, so maybe I'm actually wait a sec. Maybe I haven't. So okay, so there's a path, a method, which is to say I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, and you go on and on and on. And you say I'm not this and I'm not that continuously, and then the method results in a position where you can then you suddenly realize actually I am X, i.e. the source or whatever, because you've negated everything else. And yeah, so
But hold on. Sorry for cutting you off. But
yeah, no problem.
just here, right now, I'm not asking you to kind of imagine into the future. I'm just saying
Yeah.
here, right now. Yep. We can negate, true?
Yeah, no, I was just clarifying what you're saying. Just to
Sorry.
so when you say we can negate, I was just clarifying quite what you mean by that.
Okay, so what can you not negate?
So you mean what can I not say isn't me? Or I no, okay, you're going to have to expand a little bit on what can you not negate. I don't fully understand the question.
Okay. All right. Now, these are words, so forgive me. Yeah?
Yeah.
Allow me a little bit of room. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you're looking at me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you conscious?
Well, there is consciousness present.
Good enough. Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Is awareness present?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is beingness present?
That's getting a bit more.
Let's just call it. Let's call it aliveness.
For me, that's subjective. So I wouldn't argue consciousness, awareness, but aliveness or beingness. That's for me. That's
all right. Let's drop. All right. Let's drop the beingness. We can push that aside. Doesn't matter. Are you conscious right now?
Yeah.
Can you negate that?
Can I stop being conscious right now?
Can you negate it?
No.
Are you aware right now?
Am I? Yes.
Can you negate that?
Can I? But when you say negate, you meaning can I stop it? That was my original question. I'm not quite sure what you mean by negate.
Negate. Yeah. Am I not negate? Am I not aware?
No.
Am I not conscious?
No.
Am I not being? You can drop the being if that rubs you up the wrong way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I am conscious and I am aware.
Right.
And I can't not be conscious or not be aware.
Yeah. You can't say I am not. You'd have to be there to say it. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a really good look, John, everything else, I don't care what it is, everything else you can negate. You can't negate this, which is your direct experience. Now, if I just bring you back to the fact that you are experiencing being conscious, you are experiencing being aware. All right. So if we just sit there, just sit there, is the experience of consciousness and awareness divided? In your direct experience, please don't go to the mind. Come back to your direct experience. Is it divided?
No.
What's this teaching called?
Non-duality.
What did you just experience?
A lack of division in consciousness.
Non-duality. John, that you're looking for, you already are. That you're looking for, you are already experiencing. We constantly overlook it because we've been, for all our life, we've looked to the mind for the answers that, like, that's the tool that gets used all the time. Yeah. And at some point, way back in the past, I don't know when, yeah, but at some point way back in the past, mind, or the seeming me, yeah, has hijacked this consciousness and awareness and has said, that's me, that's mine. Me is conscious. Me is aware.
Yep.
Yep. Now, me is conscious or me is aware. That me can't experience consciousness or awareness. The only thing that can experience consciousness or awareness is consciousness and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's not divided. It's not split. Now, if you've just seen that or experienced that, now you have a choice. Where do you want to sit? Where do you want to be? Do you want to dive back into the mind where a me gets created and a seeming world gets created and all your past and your storing and your history is all being created? You want to dive in there and keep in mind that in there is the seeking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or you just want to sit and be here.
Much better to sit and be here, absolutely.
Because it's not split. It's not divided. Now, in the absence of mind, or when the mind fades, because it does, yeah, the only thing that gives life to the content of mind is attention itself. That's the only thing. Okay, so if the attention shifts, if there's a transition where the attention shifts from being absorbed in the mind and looking at the mind all the time, and then it's the mind that then looks at the world and makes up stories about the world or the self or whatever, that attention shifts back home. The only thing that fuels the mind is attention. So at this point, it's kind of seems like there's a choice. Where do you want to sit? Where do you want to be? And the mind will buck and it will complain and it'll try and assert itself. It's just part of the process. It just does. Yeah, it just does. Yeah. So the answer's not in the mind. It's right here and always has been. Now, the reason we overlook it is because mind has hijacked it. Said this, you know, the mind believes that it's me that's aware and it's me that's conscious. Yet the me, being mind, can never experience consciousness or awareness. Ever. So in the absence of it, in the absence of mind, what's left? What's left?
Awareness.
Then that's your direct experience right now. And that's what you've been looking for. Now, as this fades, because it does, when you stop putting the bloody attention on it, yeah, it fades and fades and fades. As that fades, this, let's call it consciousness or awareness, yeah, opens up like a flower. It just opens. And you just find yourself, you know, I don't know how else to put this, yeah, but more here, more here, more here, more. And it's not, and here is not divided. There's no time here. None. This is the infinite here. And you know that when you know that. Mind can't can't know that. It can't grasp that. The whole world, or the seeming perceived world, or the seeming perceived self, is all imagined by a mind or thoughts. It's just a wonderful storyteller. Incredibly creative. Oh my God. How creative is Source when it can do that 8 billion times at the same time? Not a single person on the planet is responsible for what goes on in there. Not a single one. Everyone's believing that, huh? Until they look, until you actually look. And that's just looking at like the magnificence of this, right? That's just looking at thoughts. What about everything else that's going on? And if there's no such thing as time, everything is just constantly bursting into existence, brand new and fresh, right now, right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. It doesn't go into, this moment doesn't go into a past. There is no past. On. It's just always on. But only now. On. Where's the past contained? In the mind, as an idea, as a concept. And you'll still use it as a concept. Post-awakening, well, you absolutely know it's total concept. It's not believed in anymore. It's just part of the functioning, part of the seeming doing. It's just what's needed for this play to happen. And it's wonderful. Yeah. It eliminates the whole concept of birth and death. Gone. Your experience of consciousness and awareness, John, your experience of that, and I'm talking about your non-dual experience of consciousness and awareness, is the exact same experience that's being experienced here. It's not happening there and here. It's the one happening there and here, at the one time. That's what's being communicated to now. What's being communicated to, yeah, is Source, not the me. The me can't. You got to see it. You will. You got. You can't not. It's so obvious. It's so incredibly obvious what's actually happening. So obvious. We just need to be pointed in the right direction, that's all. Question a couple of things. Oh. Then it becomes yours. I can tell you, your Source, your one, there's no such thing as you. A lot of good that is until you know that. You've got to know it. Yeah. So there's just a constant pointing. It's funny. It's a constant pointing to get Source to awaken from what it has created. You are Source. I am Source. That's your nature. That's who and what we are. And in your direct experience right now, in your direct experience, that's what's being experienced. And we've given no attention to it. We brush over it. Why? Because we've convinced ourselves it's me that's aware and never looked any further than that. It's me that's conscious and never questioned it, never looked any further. If that statement is true. And you look and look, and then you discover, oh shit, it's not me that's aware at all. It's not me that's conscious at all. Not at all. You just need to look, just need to see. Yeah. But it helps if you can start to experience what I just did with you a moment ago. Are you conscious right now? Go to the consciousness. I'm not talking about being conscious of
Yeah.
your direct experience of consciousness and awareness. And I'm not talking about being aware of awareness itself, consciousness itself. Huh. Is it divided? Is it split? What steps in? And notice what steps in whilst you're there that seems to create a division. It's only thoughts. And in the absence of them, there is no division. There is no here, there. There is no separation. Even in the seeing, if you scan your eyes around the room, in the absence of mind altogether, there's no notion of separate things. It's not. It's not separate. The mind, it's only the mind that steps in. You need to watch that. It's only the mind that steps in and creates the seeming division, the seeming objects, the seeming things.
So, Terry, just then in your experience, right? So for you, when the mind is not stepping in, and say that picture behind you, for example, so if you look at that, the mind isn't stepping in and saying this is separate. The mind isn't stepping in and saying that's an object. The mind isn't stepping in and saying that's spatially somewhere else. I presume it shouldn't be doing that. Then, like, what remains after that? If the mind isn't stepping in and doing all that work, then so if you look at that picture or you look at the screen, like, okay, you don't see anything if there's no you to see as such.
Get this.
But okay, there's seeing, but well, okay. I suppose my question is, okay, so well, first question is space. Okay, so do you hold the position that the mind creates space?
Yes.
I mean, the standard position is the mind creates space and it creates time. So, okay, so if you're not seeing space, so you're seeing the screen, or the screen is there, but there's no space. How does that manifest? How do you experience that?
Well,
I find that hard to imagine.
Of course, because the question implies that there's such a thing as space.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. So if there is no such, there's no space, then
okay, all right. So let's see if I can answer it this way. Yeah, because you're kind of trying, hoping that there's an answer to that question, and there's not. Hold on. There's not. Okay. I'll just tell you, there's not an answer that I could give to that question that could be understood dualistically. But here's what I would say. Okay. In the absence of thought altogether, what space? In the absence of thought altogether, what things?
Okay, so in the absence of thought, there's no space and no things. Okay. But are you saying then there's no experience at all?
The experience becomes non-finite. Non-finite. See, what we do, you know, as a seeming person, as a seeming individual, yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong. You correct me if this is not, if this hasn't been your experience, okay? But what we do as seeming individuals, when we're seeking and trying to find, and you know, or even if we're not seeking, if we're just an average Joe out there in the street, yeah, what we do is, as a seeming person, is the only thing we notice are things.
Yeah.
When do we notice space? Mind is always fixated on things in space, if you like.
Yeah. I
Never
agree with that,
never, ever notices the space. You got that?
well, things are at the end of space, is the way that will be my experience. So you notice a thing in space or at the end of space. So it's like a mirror, basically.
The end of space.
Yeah, so it's like a mirror, right? So you reflect, you know, awareness. This is, again, I'm just talking my experience. Awareness reflects off a thing in space, just like a mirror. You look, basically the same kind of thing. So, and then, I mean, obviously you can imagine space beyond the thing.
I got to undo you a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. But just some of these ideas, I mean, they're okay. It's all right. But I've somehow got to get you back to your direct experience. And
no, but that is my direct experience.
No, it's not. No.
Okay.
That's your mind's experience. That's the idea. That's your direct experience is right here, right now, conscious and aware, absence of thought. That's your direct experience.
Okay.
Anything else would be a mind trying to describe this experience or understand this experience or have questions about this experience. In your direct experience, there's no split. There is no duality in your direct experience. It's really interesting. It's so hard to talk about, you know. Is there space? Yes, seemingly. Are there things in space? Yes, seemingly. One of the first things that I noticed, which was profound, let's call it post-awakening. One of the first things I noticed, which blew my mind, and I thought I saw it and I thought I was aware of it, but I absolutely, totally was not. One of the first things I noticed out here in the seeming world, yeah, was space. And then things appearing in space. But the shift went from things appearing in space to being fully aware of space itself, without which there would be no things. Blew my mind. Never noticed it. Never noticed it. Or rather, never experienced it.
So when you say you never noticed it, Terry, what? I mean, I don't quite understand that, I have to admit.
I know. Well, what's your direct experience of space? Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Well, I feel I have some kind of awareness of space.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
You might, yeah, but what's your direct experience of it?
Right now.
Yeah.
So right now, okay, so maybe space. Okay, so I feel I have, so right now, if I'm looking at, say, the laptop screen, then I feel there's a distance.
Yeah, but you're looking at things straight away. Stop looking at the things and become fully aware of the space. See, the way we recognize space is by identifying with things.
Well,
We do. That's how the mind works. It's you're trying to understand it with the mind, and it can't be. That's what I'm realizing. It can't be understood with mind. It can't. It simply can't, you know. You know, the way we identify space or believe that we are aware of space, yeah, is by looking at things in it. And what I'm saying is, what I experienced was yeah, there were things, but it was also like the absence of things and just space itself. And I'd never experienced that. I didn't have to identify that there was space because there were objects in it, or there was a here and a over there, and there was a distance, and because of that distance, there was space between this and that, and none of that was happening at all. At all. It was just the direct experience of space. In the absence of that. Yeah. Now, you could say that this presence awareness or consciousness is similar. We don't see it. We don't experience it. We don't notice it. What we notice are all the things that are going on in the head. That's what the mind does. It notices stuff. It notices things. If you want to call, let's say we call thoughts things. Yeah. And then all the seeming things out here in the world. It doesn't see the space or experience the space because it can't. It can't. It can't experience anything. It just makes up stories about stuff and space and things in it, and it just makes up stories about it, which is okay. That's how it functions. That's what it is. But you know, where it becomes problematic is when it makes up a me. But even then, it's only problematic if the me or thoughts start deciding this is a problem. I'm now on a path and I want to become enlightened. As if that's the person doing that. And it's not. It's source stirring itself. Until it sees, and then put. So, you know, Malcolm and Rohan would have heard me say this a few times. That being the case, the seeming person, can't fuck this up. You've got nothing to do with it. This is just happening. Why is it happening to you and not someone else? Why? Why? It's just happening. Why is, you know, why can't I sing like Adele? The female singer, right? Why can't I sing like her? I fucking can't. She's manifesting that way and it's manifesting this way. Why, you know, some people remain seemingly asleep, seemingly. It's just and some wake up It's got nothing to do with the seeming person that awakening occurs. That would be like attributing you waking up in the morning when you're asleep. That would be like attributing it to the dream character in the dream now deciding to wake up. Doesn't even fucking know it's asleep until you wake up. And you wake up to the dream. So there's two things that are happening. One's pure fiction and pure imagination. One, pure fiction and pure imagination. And then there's your direct experience. What gives fuel to the pure imagination is attention. Just attention. Be attentive to this. It might seem when you first start doing that, I'm being attentive to this, that there's still a separate thing here that's now being attentive to this. That'll fade. Don't worry about that. That too will fade. Just come home. And in your direct experience of here, you've got to check this out. And I know you did a moment ago, but check this out when we hang up. Yeah? In your direct experience of here, it's not divided. I got this silly little saying. If God comes knocking, you better be home. Or another way of putting it, yeah. If awakening is going to occur, you better be present. You better fucking be here, man. If awakening is going to occur, you better be present. So you abide there. Explore that, if you like. The direct experience. Get out of the mind. Get the fuck out of there. Get out of there. If you can. It'll just happen. It's not like you can choose to. But it will just eventually happen. If there's, still questions that come up next time we get together, fire them out. Get them out. Yeah, we've got to unravel that. We've got to unravel that until you lose interest in the mind. You become interested in something else. And that something else that you become interested in is your direct experience, that you cannot negate. Can't negate it. And you kind of sit there for a moment and I ask a question, is that divided? Usually what happens is there's a pause and everything goes quiet. Mind is absent. And innately, it's not divided. From your experience, not from me telling you, from yours. Let's stop there. I don't want to overwhelm you with. It's funny. It's a beautiful show. It's magnificent what's actually happening. It's magnificent what's actually happening. What we think is happening is shit. What we think is happening is awful. Let's look at the state of the world. Kids starving, wars, death, famine, tsunamis, volcanoes going off, COVID ripping through the planet, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Mind is going to have a whole lot of stuff to say about that. Whole lot of stuff to say about that. And mind is going to go, it's a pretty shit world we're living in at the moment. Or we've got a shit president or a shit prime minister, whatever. Get out of there. Get out of there. At some point, there's just a transition. At some point, the attention, if you like, just shifts away from that to this. And everything gets resolved. I mean, everything gets resolved just from sitting here doing fucking nothing. Mind can't cope with that. What do you mean I've got to sit here and do nothing? I've got to be searching, I've got to be doing, you know, this feels a bit boring. This can't be it, blah, blah. And the mind just goes nuts. Sit. This is the closest you're going to get. Right here. Yeah. We're all trying to find non-duality. Oh my God, where is it? What is this experience of non-dual? What is it? You know, you're already experiencing it. That's why it's constantly said, that you're looking for, you already are. That you're looking for, you're already experiencing. Just that we don't recognize it because we attribute the experiencing of this being, consciousness, awareness, we attribute that to the me. And we look no further. Of course it's me that's seeing. It's me that's hearing, tasting, touching. Of course it's me that's thinking. Of course it's me that's waving its arm. But we don't look. There's an assumption there that there's a me there doing all that or experiencing all that. It's just a story. I'll finish up in a sec. You know, in the absence of, I think I did this last week, I can't remember, but if I could create amnesia in you, John, complete amnesia, where's John go? No name, don't know who your parents are, don't know what country you were born in, no memory of personal self whatsoever, completely gone. What sort of John would remain? That tells you straight away what the me is. Straight away. Memory. That was the closest I got. It was the closest I got to being able to identify what this me is. I am memory. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then with that memory, yeah, which we believe is in the past, all the memories are in the past, yeah. We bring that memory or that past storying into the present. Listen to this. We bring the past into the present and call that me. What the fuck are we bringing into the present? What? What are we actually bringing into the present that we can say is me? Now, let's go back to negating all the thoughts or creating amnesia. Zero thoughts, zero memory of a personal self. Completely gone. What's left? In your direct experience, what would be left? In your direct experience, what would be left?
I don't know.
Would you still be conscious? Would you still be aware?
Yes. Still be conscious, still be aware.
Right.
Yeah.
There you are.
But you wouldn't have all that stuff, as you pointed out, wouldn't be it wouldn't be there.
Right. Yet you don't disappear. Still conscious, still aware. Clean, clear. But you see that? Have a play around with all that. I've given you heaps. Have a play.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Terry. Okay.
That's all right. We've gone over, guys. How are you, Malcolm? You good? You good? Yeah.
Beautiful, Terry.
Beautiful. Rohan, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, all good, Terry.
Good.
Just no, it was just great to hear so many pointers. You know, when you said something, it really hit me. You said nothing has ever happened, and you know, when we wake up from a dream, we know that all that stuff that happened in the dream, we know fully that that never happened.
That's right.
And so you're saying the same thing is will happen here when it's
Exactly
fully
the same
seen.
thing. Exactly the same thing. And I mean that literally. Exactly the same thing. Oh my God, none of it ever happened. Holy shit. And you'll laugh. You will laugh. Because it's different from, you know, waking up in the morning and realizing that nothing happened in your dream. Yeah? Because this is now, holy shit, nothing happened my whole life. It's huge. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's no longer operating and functioning in imagination. It's all imagination. Like in the full recognition that there's no me there, who the hell would the past, all that past have happened to? We only say it happened to me. Oh, sorry. There is no me. Oh my God, that means nothing happened. And you say, where does it all happen? Like really, when you look at it, yeah, where does your seeming life happen? It all happens in the mind. What the mind says about everything. And that's the duality. That's the split. And the seeming person's in there as well, trying to find its way out. The seeming person is trying to get this thing called enlightenment and wake up. It can't. It's in the dream. It's in the imagination. And it's just recognizing that and seeing what's actually happening.
Or not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Just don't really be brutally honest. Yeah. Don't any longer accept an assumption. Look at it. Really look at it. Really look at it. Don't accept an assumption. Because even when we're on this path, there's an assumption that there's a me here that's going to wake up. There's a me here that's going to get this. And then there's a me here that's going to experience something profound when this so-called enlightenment or awakening thing happens. That's an assumption that there's a me there in the first place. Pure assumption. It's an assumption. When you start looking, you realize that. Oh, Jesus. What? Because you see for yourself what's actually been happening or happening. You see. So this doesn't take knowledge. This just takes being conscious or aware, knowing what's actually happening. It's not knowledge. I don't teach shit. I don't teach anything. I just question your own belief. All right, shall we wind it up? What it's
Thank
late
you.
for you two, John and Malcolm.
It's
late.
worth it.
Yeah. And Rohan, are you off to work?
Actually, I work online, so
Fantastic.
yeah. But yeah, my work actually starts up again in a couple of weeks. So I teach, and it's semester break for the students. So when they're off on their summer vacation, I don't really have much to do, which is nice. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, guys.
See you Wednesday. Bye.
Thanks, Malcolm. Thanks, John.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.